Hello everybody, welcome to Crafty Soup. My name is Misty. I am here today with my Spellbinders kit of the month, and I'm including the kits that I got from December. I did order 2 items from December, and I have a bit of surprise, so stick around for that. Let's go ahead and dive into what I made with all 3 of these products. Here is the main hot foil kit of the month, and I've been subscribed to this for almost the entire year of 2025, and I considered canceling the hot foil kit because I'm feeling kind of tired of just these cover plates, and I've wanted more things for embellishments that have hot foiling added to them. However, since I have been subscribed for a year, they did send their end of the year thank you gift to all subscribers, which is this die that says thanks very much, and I think it has a shadow with it too. I can't quite remember. But that wasn't the only thing I ordered this month. Because I've considered canceling this, I have been looking at the press plates instead, because press plates can foil and do letterpress looks. And it turns out that I like both products this time, so I went ahead and bought the press plate just so I can get a sense of if I think I want to switch over to this. And this whole discussion becomes moot after Spellbinders announced that they're discontinuing foil plates and switching over to just press plates because they do both, and they'll be renamed foil and press plates. But here's the surprise. I got that extra thank you gift with the second plate that I ordered. So I'm going to be giving this away to a viewer, and I will have all of the rules on how to enter this giveaway down below. So read up on that if you want to try and win a little bit of a goodie. For now, let's go ahead and take a look at the brand new 2026 foil and press plate kit of the month. And while I am getting kind of tired of the cover plate products, I'm trying this one. I know it's a cover plate. I've seen the early reveal of it, so I know what's in this package. And I'm going to give this one a go because it's slightly different than some of the other kind of all over pattern designs. So as I open it up, let's see what we've got. The new packaging shows you what it looks like as a press plate on the top and what it would look like as foil on the bottom. So that makes it clear that you can do both with these. Instead of being an all over pattern design, this one is a postcard design. So it has different bits of imagery on there that could be cut apart and used for different kinds of embellishing or card design layouts. And it has 4 sentiments, I think, plus the kit comes with the hot foil. That may change throughout the months. I'm not sure how they're going to do that now that it's also a press plate. At any rate, I used the foil that came with the kit, and look at that. It is beautiful. So I like the imagery on this one. I think it can be used in different ways because I like products to be used in my scrapbooking as well as my card making. That's why I was hoping that I would get something different than just background cover plates. All right, while I'm chatting about that, I have gone off, pressed the sentiments, and here's the technique for card number 1 that I'm going to do. We're going to do some highlight inking. It is not at all complicated. I'm using tiny blending brushes to get ink just in some areas of the image. And in fact, I'm going to do orange with the beak, and I'm going to use that orange as 3 points of a visual triangle, which I will nestle my sentiment in. I will do a little bit of masking here for this tiny beak, and that's just because the beak was a little bit smaller than my blending brush. But for the rest of it, I'm just going to go for it. I'm not going to worry if I go outside the lines just a little bit. I think it'll look fine in the end. So here is my second zone of orange and my third zone of orange. Here is a look at that orange inking, and then we're going to move on to the bird. I'm going to do the bird with blue and purple, and I will overlap some blue and purple to get kind of an in-between shade. The head, belly, and back of the bird and the tail of the bird will be purple. The wing will be blue, and then I will overlap some of the blue and purple on the tail and a little bit on the head. And here's a quick look at that. I will get that sentiment attached on there in these visual triangle of my orange colors, and I will add that with some foam dots. I'm going to trim this just outside of the main border of the foil so that I will be able to see some of the background card base. I do put it on a dark blue card base, which is the Concord and Ninth Blueberry. And I pull out some sequins from my Spellbinders Crafty Advent Calendar from December 25. And I'm going to add a bit of zhuzh with that. And then we can take a final look at the finished card before moving on. I just wanted to note here that I'm going to be using a similar color palette throughout all 3 extra cards I'm making this time. Moving on to card number 2, I like to reuse the foil left over from previous foilings, and this bird makes a great piece to add as a focal point, and this is where I could create embellishments for my scrapbook layouts as well, so I'm hoping to do that in the future with this particular set. I am going to use another piece from another set that is a solid oval, and I'm going to use that to transfer just a portion of this piece. I did trim it down around the plate so that it wouldn't have too much extra overfoiling on other pieces, and I'm putting this on a larger than A2 size piece, and the transfer isn't great, and that's because I'm getting used to my new Spellbinders Glimmer hot foil machine. I had a previous machine that died, and so I have to relearn the new machine, but I gave it more distressed details, and we'll call that good. We will take a closer look at these in a little bit, but for now, let's move on to card number 3. Now, because these plates are press and foil, I wanted to go ahead and do both this month. So I did 3 colors, the same 3 colors, across at an angle on my press plate, and I did miss a little bit of a space because I was trying to be careful not to overlap the orange and purple too much, because you end up with kind of a brown color. So when I looked at my gap, I re-inked on that part of the press plate, and as long as you haven't moved anything, you can repress and fill in the blanks. Now, I had an idea in mind for a technique that I wanted to do with this one, which involves a craft knife, and I am a terrible craft knife user. Whenever somebody says that they're bad at fussy cutting, I have to think about how I am bad at craft knives, and it boggles me. I don't know why I'm so bad at using a craft knife. At any rate, I am trying to cut out just the tips of some of the leaves so that I can fold them up to give texture and to show a peak of color underneath. But I did figure out a little bit of a tip when I was working with the craft knife, and that's if I poke some holes first where I want to start and end the slice. That helps the blade get down into the cardstock and to start cutting a little bit smoothly. And then once there's a groove in the cardstock, the knife will slide through that groove a little bit better. I did have to bring in my scissors to help clean things up, but I did my best, and I like the idea of this technique. After I got that done, I decided to go ahead and trim it down a little bit so that I have more than just the blue peeking out from underneath the leaves, so that it feels a little more cohesive with some of the blue around the edge as well. And with that glued in place, I can give those leaves a little bit more zhuzh, and that will be the final look at this card. I will add a few more embellishments to some of these things a little bit later, and we'll see the final look at the end of the video. But first we need to tackle card number 4. All right, this technique I've been wanting to do for a while, and I thought I was going to do it when I built my scrapbook kit for the month, and I skipped it because I already had elements that were like this, but I am going to foil on vellum. I wanted to make some vellum butterflies earlier in the month, but instead I'm going to be making a card front today. So the thing about hot foiling that is a little complicated is that it's really hard to line up everything straight on a panel just because of the nature of how things layer. You can't always see things, and then when you add more layers, it can shift things. And I wasn't getting tape to stick because everything was already hot. So I did my best to freehand it, and it worked out great. And the foiling worked out great on the vellum. And I want to do a lot more of this. But let's move on to other elements of this card. And I'm going to use the heart from December's press plate and create a gradient of blues and purples onto a dark blue. It is showing up okay in person, although you can't really tell on screen, but I am going to make that center area just a little bit darker with more purple so that it shows up a little bit better. All right, here is the fun part of this card. I am going to create a card front with that vellum piece. So I scored my card like I would normally, and then I'm going to trim the side that would be the card front down to, I think I go just under 1/2 inch. That will leave a flap to attach the vellum to. And to finish off the card a little more nicely, I'm going to create some strips to glue on the inside of that flap to help make it look a lot more finished. So I need to create 3 of these strips that are just under half an inch. When I don't measure exactly, then it gets a little more complicated to create those strips. But I do my best and I get those 3 strips done. And so on that little flap, I'm going to glue the panel in, and I'm going to tuck it into the fold of the card, and then I will just press that flap down. I did remove some of the extra glue just to make sure it wouldn't squish out on the front or the back, because that would make a gluey mess, right? Okay, here is where I'm adding a strip to the right-hand side of this panel, and that's going to make it a little more sturdy for opening and closing, as well as adding a balance to the card front. And then I will do the same thing on the inside for that finished look. I am putting my heart on the inside of this panel, which you will see a little bit peeking through that card front vellum. I don't remember which exactly vellum I used. I know it's a pretty heavy weight. It was just a piece of my scrap. But a heavyweight vellum is best for this technique, and it blurs the inside a little bit more, so it's a bit of a surprise when you open it up. And then a quick sentiment, I had to grab this from my stash. When I do these videos, I really try to stick to the products that I have from the kits, but I did have to grab a Happy Valentine's Day sentiment from my stash. For a little embellishing, I tied twine into a bow. I'm adding glue to the twine to keep it kind of held in place. Here's a little hack. If you cut a piece of backing off from stickers, you can put those over gluey things and then put a weight on it to help it glue in place without glue sticking to your weight. So that is what I did for that, and then I covered it up with a sequin. As we take a final look, you'll notice that I have a few extra embellishments on some of these things. And while these cards are fairly simple, I did share a few techniques that you could give a try. And with this one, I actually added some twine just in little X's around my image. All right, that wraps up this video. I hope you appreciated something about it, whether you found a new to you technique that you want to give a try, or if, like me, you've struggled with some techniques. Drop me a comment. I'd love to hear your feedback, and I will be back soon with more crafty videos for you. Until then, I hope you have an artful day.